All right, what I'm trying to do is to demonstrate to students how you can potentially find LexisNexis Academic, use it, LexisNexis Academic, to find citations for cases. So one of the easiest ways to do it is if you have the citation itself. And what you have here is a listing of here's who the parties are. It's somebody named Denny who is suing the Ford Motor Company. We don't know, what this is about. Anyway, but I can tell you that it happened sometime in New York, and I can tell that because if you'll notice, we've got 87 New York 2nd 248. This tells me this actually comes out of the New York Court of Appeals, which oddly enough is the High Court in the state of New York. And all I'm going to do is highlight the numbers with those letters. That's a lawyer citation deal. And what I've got, what I've got up hopefully somewhere around in here, is my that's my general course websites. And what I'm working through is St. Louis Community College. This should work at any college anywhere in the United States or any other place that has access to LexisNexis Academic or even similar sites. And so here we're going to go into, because I know it's a database, I went into our collection. And I'm going to click Libraries Database. At our place, it used to be one of the top 5 choices. I'm going to pause and say that for business students, one of the biggest things you can go to is ABI Inform Global. I will have another posting on ABI Inform Global, but it's mostly for us in this class to find the Wall Street Journal. What we're doing is that since the professor here wants us to look at LexisNexis, we'll come down to this database descriptions A to Z list, and we are going to click on the L. And notice right there we've got LexisNexis Academic. Now LexisNexis itself is a lawyer tool for finding cases, for finding it's weird, it's making me, for finding statutes, constitutions, other things. It's a Boolean-based search. Oh boy. Oh wait, never mind. I've got a Blackboard. I can log in through Blackboard, so I'm just going to use that. And since I've already logged into the system, it's letting me right in. I'm presuming you can see little Miss Daisy, who is a giant pumpkin. Now what we're after is we're looking for a case. Well, we already have the citation to it. So look down here in the bottom on the middle, it says look up legal case. So we click this down arrow, that expands what we're going to do. And the first thing we click on is by citation. That 87 NY 2nd, and then I don't remember the numbers. Anyway, 843 or whatever it was. We're just going to hit Control V in this space, and then it comes 87 New York 2nd, 248, and we've got it. The key in LexisNexis, if you want to hand type this in, you have to hand type it in with all the spaces and everything else like this. This is a Boolean search engine. This is not as forgiving as something like Google or Bing or any of your other favorite search engines. It has to be extremely precise. And what we've now done is we've found the case we were looking for. You notice it's in red, 87 New York 2nd, 248. And we're going to go back up. Remember, we had the name Denny versus Ford Motor Company. And what we're looking at is it's telling us this is a strict products liability claim, breach of implied warranty claim. That's a Uniform Commercial Code claim. So it's going to go in, and we're going to now be able to read this case. Law students will have to make a case brief, and any lay person trying to read this should do that too. Let me go quickly into what you're going to see as you look at this case. First of all, we're going to see the prior history. How did it get to the Court of Appeals of New York, which is actually the Supreme Court, if you will, of New York, although in New York, the Supreme Court is the trial court. And then the appellate court is the Supreme Court appellate division, and then the Court of Appeals is the top or highest court. And we can see this is a jury's finding of no product defect is reconcilable with its finding of breach of warranty. This is telling us, number 3, if the claims are different and a strict liability claim may fail while an implied warranty claim succeeds, that means the jury's finding is consistent. Anyway, disposition, a lot of this is going to be real good for lawyers. For lay people, may or may not make much sense. The stuff here in gray, very valuable again for lawyers, but might be very confusing to lay people. I'm not saying that you should skip it, but if it doesn't make sense to you, don't worry too much about it. This is not really the language of the court. So, what we're really interested in is what did the court say? And we're not going to find that until we get all the way down past this counsel, and now we've got the opinion by Titone. And here it is. It tells us judges, Chief Judge K, judges Bellacosa, Smith, Levine, and Siparek. And these judges may know themselves, and I apologize if I'm misstating their names. With Judge Titone, Judge Simon's dissents in a separate opinion. So 7 judges, 6-1 decision. Here's the opinion by Titone, or Titone. I apologize if I don't know that very well. And here's the real opinion. Backing up a little, a lot of what we've got up here in these head notes, this is ways lawyers maybe find what we're talking about. They may use this case. This case, Denny versus Ford Motor Company, is useful maybe for Ford to show here's why we don't have a product defect. And it's not potentially as useful for Ford to show why there is a breach of an implied warranty. I'm not going to get into the details of this. Usually your teacher wants you to read this and see if you can understand what the difference is. You're going to ordinarily be the teacher in something like that, and certainly in my class that's what we're dealing with. The head notes is something, so these notes up here are things generally produced by a private publisher. They've got an editorial staff that creates these. And the head notes here are oftentimes that which is created by the court itself, although not by the judges, by a clerk of court who may or may not be a law graduate. The stuff about of counsel, or who appeared for the defendant. Well, here the defendant is Ford Motor Company. This is their position. Here are the cases they're relying upon. Notice that these are web linked. I can click on these blue cases and go to them inside LexisNexis if I want to find other stuff. And then we have the people from New York. Who else? Anyway, Amica Curie. This is great. Here's all these cases. This is all this stuff. Anyway, for those of you in a classroom, notice you can print this. You can email it to yourself. You can save it to a thumb drive or other. You can save it onto your hard drive if you want to. You can export a bibliographic reference if you're going to a paper, if you understand this. Copy the document link. That may or may not work. I'd be a little careful there because you usually have to be logged into LexisNexis or LexisNexis Academic. And you can also export this out to the cloud. So if you've got a cloud account, boom, you can take it there. For students, this is important because you may want to save this in multiple places. As a college professor, I can tell you that my dog ate the homework excuse has now come to my computer crashed, my thumb drive went berserk. I only had it saved there. I don't have any other copies. This menu right here tells me we've got some issues because here's an email way you could have saved it. Then you can go find it in the email folder. Here's a zip drive way to save it, or a flash drive, thumb drive way to save it. Maybe you're better than I am. You could export the link. The link may get you right back into this. And you've got a cloud. So right here, you've got at least 3 ways to save this document. And so you should always do that. Remember also to save them into a folder that you can access that's useful to you. Your labeling is a big deal. Over the years, I've gotten to put the dates onto things. For instance, you can see today it's January 26, 2016. I abbreviate that as _01_26_16. Anyway, I hope that was helpful to you. It went on longer than I planned, but we're going to call that a day. Thanks. Bye.